It's a walk she had taken 100 times before. A simple, 12-minute journey from a friend's house to her own, a path so familiar she could probably trace it with her eyes closed. But on one overcast afternoon, that short walk became an endless road into darkness, a journey from which she would never return. Her first steps were recorded, a fleeting image of a girl heading home. Her last steps, however, simply vanished into thin air. This is the chilling story of the girl who walked home but never arrived. The town of Boulder, Colorado, sits nestled against the majestic backdrop of the Rocky Mountains. It's a place known for its scenic beauty, its vibrant university life, and a prevailing sense of safety. In the spring of 2009, it was home to Ashley Berg, a 19-year-old with a bright spirit and a future full of promise. She was a typical teenager, navigating the bridge between high school and whatever came next, surrounded by friends and the comfort of her tight-knit community. On March 26th, a seemingly ordinary Thursday, Ashley spent the afternoon at a friend's apartment. The day was unremarkable, filled with the easy chatter and laughter that defined their friendship. As late afternoon began to bleed into early evening, Ashley decided it was time to head home. The walk was short, just under a mile, a straight shot through familiar suburban streets she knew like the back of her hand. She said her goodbyes, promising to text when she got in. Her friend watched from the doorway as Ashley, clad in her favorite gray hoodie and jeans, started down the sidewalk. The air was cool, the sun already beginning its slow descent behind the jagged peaks of the Flatirons. It was a picture of absolute normalcy, a scene that played out every single day in countless towns across America. But this time was different. Minutes turned into an hour, and the promised text message never came. Ashley's phone, when called, rang and rang before clicking over to an impersonal voicemail greeting. A small knot of unease began to form in her friend's stomach. It was unlike Ashley not to check in. Still, it was easy to rationalize. Maybe her phone had died. Maybe she had run into another friend and lost track of time. As evening deepened into night, however, that small knot of unease tightened into a cold dread. Calls to Ashley's family confirmed the growing fear. She wasn't home. Her parents, initially calm, felt the first sharp sting of panic. Their daughter, the responsible one, the one who always called, had disappeared on a 12-minute walk. The initial search was frantic and localized. Family and friends retraced the route she would have taken, calling her name into the darkening yards and alleyways. They peered into shadowed porches and scanned the quiet streets, their voices growing more desperate with each passing moment. But the night offered no answers, only an unnerving, profound silence where Ashley's footsteps should have been. By the next morning, the Boulder Police Department was involved, and what began as a search for a missing person quickly escalated into a full-blown investigation. The route Ashley was supposed to have taken was simple and straightforward. It led her past a small convenience store, a neighborhood park, and rows of single-family homes with neatly manicured lawns. It was a path with few places to hide, and even fewer places to vanish without a trace. Investigators immediately began canvassing the area, knocking on every door along the route. They asked residents if they had seen a girl in a gray hoodie, if they had heard anything unusual, anything at all out of the ordinary. Most people had been inside, preparing dinner, watching television, living their lives, oblivious to the silent drama unfolding just outside their windows. The first significant break in the case, and what would become its most haunting clue, came from a security camera. A small ATM located outside the convenience store, just a few blocks from where Ashley had started her walk, had captured her image. The timestamp on the footage was 5:17 p.m. In the grainy, black and white video, she is seen walking past, her pace steady, her hands shoved into the pockets of her hoodie. She is alone. She doesn't look distressed or afraid. She isn't looking over her shoulder. She is simply a girl walking home. The camera captured her entering the frame from the left and exiting to the right, continuing on her path. It was a ghost-like image, a final, fleeting glimpse of Ashley Berg in the world of the living, and that's where the trail went cold. Detectives scoured the rest of the route for any other potential CCTV footage. They checked cameras on homes, at intersections, and on other local businesses. They found nothing. It was as if after passing that ATM, Ashley had stepped off the edge of the earth. She walked out of one camera's frame and never entered another. The 12-minute walk was now a 12-minute mystery. Investigators broke it down, second by second. The distance from the friend's apartment to the ATM took her approximately 4 minutes. This left an 8-minute window, 8 minutes, and a distance of less than 3/4 of a mile. What could possibly happen in 8 minutes on a busy suburban street in broad daylight? The theories began to swirl, each more terrifying than the last. The most plausible, and the one police focused on, was an abduction. Someone, investigators believed, must have been watching, waiting for an opportunity. Perhaps a car pulled up alongside her, the driver asking for directions, a friendly face masking a monstrous intent. It would have only taken a few seconds to force her into a vehicle and speed away. This theory was supported by the terrifying efficiency of her disappearance. There were no signs of a struggle. No dropped bag, no scuff marks on the pavement, no screams that anyone reported hearing. The abduction, if that's what it was, had been silent, swift, and terrifyingly professional. It suggested a predator who knew exactly what they were doing. The police investigated every known sex offender in the area, cross-referencing alibis and looking for any connection, no matter how tenuous, to Ashley. They pulled traffic camera data, searching for any vehicle that seemed out of place or that appeared on the route multiple times. But the leads all dried up. The digital and physical breadcrumbs simply weren't there. As days turned into weeks, the community rallied. Missing posters bearing Ashley's smiling face were plastered on every lamppost, in every storefront window. Volunteers, hundreds of them, organized massive search parties. They combed through the nearby park, waded through creeks, and pushed their way through dense undergrowth on the trails leading into the foothills. They found nothing. The media latched onto the story, drawn by the haunting nature of her vanishing act. "The girl who walked into nothing," one headline read. The image from the ATM camera was broadcast across the country, a grainy specter on the evening news. Her face became a symbol of a parent's worst nightmare, a chilling reminder of the illusion of safety. The investigation turned inward, as it always does in these cases. Detectives looked closely at Ashley's life, searching for any reason she might have wanted to disappear. Was she unhappy? Was there a secret she was keeping? They interviewed her friends, her family, her teachers, even casual acquaintances. They dug into her social media, her text messages, and her diary. They painted a picture of a well-adjusted, happy young woman. She had her small frustrations, the typical anxieties of a 19-year-old, but there was no indication of a secret life. There was no secret boyfriend, no online relationship with a stranger, no plans to run away from home. She was, by all accounts, exactly who she appeared to be. This lack of internal conflict only deepened the mystery. If she didn't run away, and if there was no evidence of an accident, the only logical conclusion was foul play. But by whom and why? Ashley had no known enemies. She wasn't involved in drugs or any criminal activity. She was a random target, it seemed, a victim of being in the wrong place at the very worst time. Months bled into a year. The posters faded and tore, their colors bleached by the relentless Colorado sun. The media attention moved on to the next tragedy. But for Ashley's family, time stood still. Their lives became a perpetual state of waiting, of suspended grief. Every phone call, every knock at the door, brought a fresh jolt of hope and fear. The police department kept the case open, but with no new leads. It grew colder with each passing day. The lead detective, a veteran of the force, admitted it was the most baffling case of his career. "People don't just vanish," he told a local reporter, his voice heavy with frustration. But she did. Over the years, tips would occasionally surface. A supposed sighting in another state, a psychic's vision, a deathbed confession from a prisoner that would later be proven false. Each new lead was a cruel spark of hope that would inevitably be extinguished, leaving the family to sink back into the despair of not knowing. The 8-minute gap in her journey remains a black hole. Did she accept a ride from someone she knew or thought she knew? A casual acquaintance, a neighbor, someone who didn't seem threatening. This theory was considered, but no one in her circle had a reason to harm her. Every alibi was checked and double-checked. Or was it a crime of pure opportunity, a predator, driving through the neighborhood, who saw a young woman walking alone and, in a terrifyingly impulsive act, decided to take her? This is the scenario that keeps detectives and Ashley's family awake at night. The sheer randomness of it, the terrible, unforgivable luck. The location itself is part of the enigma. This wasn't a deserted back road late at night. It was a populated residential street in the late afternoon. Cars were driving by. People were in their homes. How could someone be snatched off the street with no one noticing anything? The audacity of the crime is as chilling as the crime itself. It's a phenomenon investigators call stranger abduction, and it is exceedingly rare. Most abductions are carried out by someone the victim knows. But when it is a stranger, the case becomes exponentially harder to solve. There is no pre-existing relationship to investigate, no digital trail of messages, no motive rooted in personal conflict. There is only the victim and a ghost. The family has never given up hope, but the nature of that hope has changed over the years. The initial, desperate hope for her safe return has slowly been replaced by a more painful, more pragmatic hope, the hope for answers. They just want to know what happened to their daughter. They want to be able to bring her home in any way they can. The silence is the true torment. It's the not knowing. Is she alive? Did she suffer? The human mind abhors a vacuum, and in the absence of facts, the imagination fills the void with 1,000 different horrific scenarios. Her bedroom remains as she left it, a museum of a life cut short, a shrine to a ghost. The convenience store with the ATM is still there. People still walk past it every day, their own lives playing out in short, unremarkable journeys. But for those who know the story, it is a haunted place. The camera is a silent witness to the last known moment of Ashley Berg's life. It's a chilling reminder that the world is not always as safe as it appears. That darkness can descend not just in the dead of night, but in the fading light of a spring afternoon. That a person can be there 1 second, a solid, living, breathing presence, and be gone the next. The case of Ashley Berg is a modern-day ghost story, a cautionary tale written in the language of surveillance footage and unanswered questions. It is a story with no final chapter, a wound that cannot close because the weapon was never found. Her journey was supposed to be 12 minutes long, a simple walk home. But somewhere in that small window of time, on that familiar, sun-dappled street, she stepped out of our world and into a mystery that endures to this day. The grainy image of her walking past the camera is all that's left. A girl in a gray hoodie, forever walking, forever on her way, but never arriving. Her story is a stark and terrifying reminder that sometimes the shortest walks can lead to the darkest, most unfathomable places. What do you think happened in those crucial 8 minutes? Was it a planned abduction or a crime of opportunity? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you find these stories of the unexplained as compelling as I do, subscribe now. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. Make sure to follow for more. The truth is often stranger and more terrifying than we can imagine. You won't want to miss what we uncover next.